Despite enjoying millions in public funding, IBM won't publicly talk about its jobs numbers. Local officials say IBM won't tell them its jobs numbers either, even after the city put up $3 million for the company's building. The one entity it does have to talk to is the State Department of Economic Development through an annual report on its hiring. This is what I found out after I got a hold of that report. IBM doesn't want to tell us how many employees go in and out of this parking lot every day. But the folks at Regional Economic Development Incorporated say there's no reason to question the number it promised.
They are on track to meet the employment projection that was identified when the project came in, i.e. the 600 jobs.
Although, as it turns out, Reddy might not know much more than the general public.
You know, I can't tell you exactly because I don't have that number.
It was the same story from the mayor of Columbia.
I believe they're at the 600. Now, I don't have direct knowledge of that because that is that's a requirement by the Department of Economic Development, not by the city of Columbia.
So I checked in with the State Department of Economic Development, and this is what I learned. As of June 30th, 2012, IBM reported 469 employees who make $27.30 an hour on average. If they all work full-time, that's an average of more than $56,000 a year. That June figure was the most recent one the DED said it could give me, meaning there's no way of knowing if IBM lived up to its public promise to be fully staffed in Columbia by the end of 2012. When I asked IBM if it could give me an updated number of employees that work behind these walls, or at the very least confirm the number the DED gave me, everyone there refused to go on camera. The company did issue a written statement saying IBM does not publicly release the number of employees, but we are currently on pace to meet our commitments to the state we agreed to in 2010. Those commitments to the state are different from what IBM said in news releases and public statements when it came to town. Remember, it originally told reporters and city officials it would fill up to 800 jobs by the end of 2012. But what it actually signed on the dotted line for with the state was different. 600 jobs by 2015, a year the company didn't publicize so widely. For that agreement, the state agreed to give IBM a $28 million incentive package, which it has been receiving in increments as it meets certain hiring goals. It included about $15 million in tax credits, $4 million in training funds, and nearly $9 million in tax credits to renovate the $3 million building the city bought. But with those millions in your money now in IBM's hands, why won't the company talk about how many jobs it's brought to Columbia? Mayor McDavid says he understands.
IBM is a big company. It's in the private sector with a lot of competition. And they are going to hold their proprietary information close to the vest.
And it doesn't bother Brooks either.
Companies guard different pieces of information differently. Is it unique? No. Is it unique about employment? Probably not.
But the secrecy didn't stop there. I reached out to Career Services at MU to get a rough estimate of how many students IBM has hired. Everyone I got in touch with at MU wouldn't go on camera and wasn't comfortable talking about the subject. MU's Director of Engineering, Career and Professional Development said she wasn't sure how much she could say, but agreed to talk to me on the phone for a couple minutes. She said IBM isn't hiring as many students as it would like from MU because many of the students don't want to stay in Columbia. She said IBM has been stepping up its recruiting efforts as of late to combat that problem. And across town, Columbia College Director of Career Services, Don Malson, says IBM has been recruiting more vigorously during the last month than in the past. He said he suspects the company is working to reach the 600 jobs it agreed to create.
That could be definitely part of it, yes. I think that's an incentive for them, and maybe that's partially why that they've established various new programs in their recruiting efforts.
Both Malson and McDavid say the problem MU's College of Engineering described is one you'll see in any college town.
It's great to be turning out people at the top. Again, the more talented they are, the more options they're going to have. And perhaps the less likely they'll stay in Columbia.
And McDavid says, problems aside, he's glad IBM is here.
I'd rather have 600 than none.
The state says we'll know how many jobs IBM created at the end of 2012 when it files its next annual report in June.